All right, thank you so much. Okay, for our second question, it's going to come from Claudia Llewellyn. So if you'll come forward, Claudia, and ask your question.
Hello. My name is Claudia Llewellyn. I'm here representing a group called Lancaster Dreamers. I was brought to the U.S. when I was a child by my mom. Even though I am an undocumented and I have been protected from deportation and allowed to work here through a program called DACA, Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. DACA has been in the news recently as Donald Trump is taking away those protections from myself and other undocumented people who were brought into this country when they were kids. If elected, would you support the DREAM Act, which gives a path to citizenship for DACA recipients if they meet the certain conditions? And where do you stand on the other 10 million undocumented immigrants? And would you support legislation to stop deportations that are breaking families apart?
Claudia, thank you for the question. Yes, I support the DREAM Act, and let me just tell you personal experience about the DREAM Act and undocumented individuals. Yeah, I'm executive director of Montgomery County and opened up a Head Start program. There wasn't one before, and I operate pre-K programs. Just the other day, when the first day of school started, just last week on the first day of school, it was very interesting because so many families came forward. This is in Norristown, which has a high Latino population. So many families came forward to say thank you for having this program so our children have free access to high quality education. At the same time, I got tons and tons of questions about are my children safe? Because they feared that ICE was going to come into our program and rip their children away from them and send them back. Okay, and to reassure them, so that fear is a very strong fear in the community, and it's just not right. Attorney General Jeff Sessions, he called the elimination of DACA compassionate. Okay, unbelievable to me. Okay, my favorite book says love thy neighbor. I said, what part of love thy neighbor does this say? Well, we're taking people who live in this country and we're going to rip them away from their families and we're going to send them to a country they've never been before. Okay, that's not compassionate. That's just wrong. So yes, I support the DREAM Act. We need to make sure that children are not being ripped away, and those individual adults who are working here, went to school here, are military here, paying taxes here, are not sent back to their countries either. They've treated as much of this country as any one of us. Diversity is a good thing. We need to make this country more diverse, not more homogeneous, as President Trump wants to make it. As far as the other immigrants, obviously Lancaster County here is the home. We were founded on support for immigrants, so we continue to support that. Again, we find ways to make citizenship more accessible to them and more easily accessible to them. Superintendent puts this in programs together from ready to make to help the Latino population and others become citizens of this country because it's the right thing to do.
First things first, Claudia, thank you for coming up and sharing your story with us and asking the question. It takes courage with everything that's going on in the environment today to stand up and announce that you're part of the organization and that you stand for other people, other dreamers here in Lancaster County and in Pennsylvania to say that we're here and we belong here. So thank you for that. Secondly, I can tell you that Christina is in favor of finding a legislative solution for DACA, and that it should also extend to the Obama administration's original executive order, which included something called PACA, which was aimed at providing a pathway for parents whose children had taken advantage of DACA to stop families from being split up. And that's going to be a priority for Christina when she gets to Washington. The number one thing that everybody seems to forget is that when you split, like when you take advantage of these programs, there's something there that is, there's an anxiety underneath it that says that even though I'm technically not going to be arrested and deported, my family may not be so safe. And I think that we as a society should be recognizing what comes with that and what that does to the stress level and to the function of that family themselves. It's a terrible thing that we brought this to such a head, and that they did. I agree with some of the things that have been said here. That it's terrible the way that Jeff Sessions and the Trump administration have really politicized this issue, a bipartisan issue that something like 80% of the American public agree with, and that we're having this conversation, and that people honestly think that there shouldn't be a pathway for citizenship for people who are brought here as children. And I know that Christina is going to fight for that institution.
Thank you.
To make sure it's there.
Thank you.
Thanks for your question, Claudia. And if you don't know Claudia, she has been standing up to power in Lancaster County. She showed up and told Scott Martin exactly what she thought about things, and she's been protesting from the area. And that bravery is beautiful. So thank you for showing up. I totally support the DREAM Act and totally support people who are experiencing this unjust situation. It's one of the worst decisions that a sitting president, I think, has ever made, to say that he's going to repeal this. We need a permanent solution. We need something that's going to affect for both DACA and their parents, and also just to address our immigration system in general. The deportation and detainment cost and trauma that's going on right now doesn't work. We need a better system for how to manage this. I think we need to remember that this country was built on immigration. We're all, other than Native Americans, we've all immigrated in some way. And again, not all chose to come to this country, but we're all immigrants. And so we need to be thoughtful about how to keep our opportunities open for people. I think we also need to remember, both from a personal standpoint and the human dignity side of things, but also like what this means for our local economies. The Lancaster Chamber of Commerce, of all organizations that aren't necessarily the most progressive sometimes, did a study about the economic impact of foreign-born residents in Lancaster County, and it is tremendous. The number of people who are born in other places that live here and the contribution to this economy far exceeds anything that they receive back from the economy. So the national narrative on this is just flat out wrong about immigration and immigrants taking from this country. Immigrants give to this country far beyond what they take from it. So we need to remember that from both a human dignity and relationship standpoint, but also from our country as an economy and where we want to go. Thank you.
Can everyone grasp the irony of this conversation we're having? We are a nation of immigrants, and we're having this conversation about allowing immigrants to enter our nation, about having problems understanding the importance of family remaining united, of kids who had at no choosing of their own other than to honor their mother and father are here and now came out of the shadows, and our government has said, well, we were going to give you this, but now we're pulling that rug out from under you. Leadership is a top-down thing, and we need to get our Congress right. Okay, we need to put people in Congress that hold these values dear. I will be a strong supporter of the DREAM Act, and as Jess just mentioned, we need to get our entire immigration bill law passed through the Congress so that everybody understands the playing field that we have here to get into our country, because it's not real easy. I live in a bilingual household. I understand what it's like to cross borders all the time. We have problems in our urban core as a result of this. We have higher dropout rates because of language issues, that kids who should have been reading on grade level by third grade are not. We probably have to look at doing some Spanish immersion school programs so that immigrants and other children that are brought here without English speaking skills but have high intellect don't fall away from our educational system because they're left out because they don't understand. But by grade 3, they can be moved into the other system. It's not a question of is English going to be our primary language? It's a question of how do we educate people the most powerfully? And that way they're not dropping out of school and becoming a disproportionate incarceration problem for us to have to deal with. Lastly, here undocumented from the rest of their families, that needs to be shut down. We need government leaders to put in that.